Right, well, it's a busy morning, and we've been getting reaction across industry to the tariff war that is playing out around the world. The mining industry has to be watching very closely. Brandon Craig joining us now, President of Americas with BHP, who's in town for the PDAC mining event. Brandon, it's great to have you with us. As a global giant, obviously you have to be watching all the moving parts of this tariff story. How are you thinking about the uncertainty right now?
Good morning, John, and good morning to all of your viewers. Listen, tariffs is clearly something that is very important to global trade, and being a mining company, global trade has a direct impact on our business. In Canada in particular, we are developing our Jansen project right here in Saskatchewan. And most of that product is destined to go into the United States to the farming industry. So I think we know tariffs put an upward pressure on prices and a downward pressure on GDP. It's still very early with the tariffs still only being introduced, but it's clearly an area that we're going to be watching very closely.
And so how are you going to be navigating this, operating your business? Is there anything that you have to change in the short term? Does it give you more confidence in the plan for the long term?
I think we've got a business that we believe has a very strong portfolio. So our view is our business is going to be very resilient, even in a world in which there are tariffs. I think the critical thing that we will need to monitor is the impact that tariffs have on global trade flows. These supply chains will reorient as tariffs get put into place. We do see some pressure onto GDP across various countries throughout the world. That leads directly into the demand for commodities, and it's through that mechanism that it impacts on our business. For Canada in particular, because our project is still in the construction phase, we only expect to get into full production or start to ramp up production in late 2026. So we still have some time to monitor the tariffs very carefully before we understand how they will ultimately impact on the investments we have made here in Canada.
Well, I'm glad you've talked about your Canadian operations, because a lot of people are talking about the Canadian opportunity in this moment. You know, the opportunity to think about how we are going to build business, attract business. What do you think the Canadian government should be thinking about in a moment like this?
I think what is often critical is the speed with which we can invest is always a very important consideration. So I think it's going to be important for a country like Canada to find those policy settings that will enable improved direct investment directly into Canada. And the other opportunity is Canada is very trade exposed to the United States at the moment. So developing the infrastructure that will allow Canada to connect with the rest of the world to be able to diversify its own markets is clearly going to be an important consideration for the country.
Okay. In Jansen, you're referencing potash, obviously a lot to watch there. Copper, also a very important market that you're watching. And the long-term trends have been quite remarkable. I guess in the short term, like anything, there can be some volatility. But do you think a lot of the long-term supporting factors for copper will remain in place, even if we get stuck in a trade war for a prolonged period of time?
We do. We do. As BHP, we are very bullish on copper. Our view is that the copper market is going to grow by 70% by 2050. And I think, as your viewers would know, copper is ubiquitous in the world. It's used in almost all electrical devices that exist. And when you look at that combination of demographics with population growth, when you look at these mega trends playing out, such as decarbonisation, electrification, and including what we see currently, which is substantial investment in artificial intelligence and data centers. All of those trends we don't see being interrupted in a material way. So on the back of that, we think the demand for copper is going to continue to be very strong. But in addition, we've seen that supply continues to struggle to actually meet demand. So we think there's going to be growing pressure on the copper supply-demand balance as we go into the next decade and next.
Okay, and Brandon, just a final corporate-related question. You're no stranger to being involved in deals, certainly in this country and definitely around the world. If this period of uncertainty leads to some imbalances, if you will, in prices of different assets. I mean, you guys have a lot on the go, but would you be trying to be opportunistic right now to add to the BHP portfolio around the world, depending on how this all plays out?
Our focus as BHP is principally to develop organic growth projects currently, and we have a set of fantastic projects currently underway. As you would know, in Canada, we have the Jansen project. We're 63% of our way through Jansen 1, and we're pretty early in Jansen 2, but that investment is currently locked in, and that is going to take our investment all the way through to 2030. And we have a range of major investments underway for copper down in South America, both in Chile and in Argentina. So I think when you look at the BHP focus, I would describe it as currently 100% on our organic growth program. But at the same time, when it does come to M&A, we clearly monitor the market very carefully. But at the moment, the focus is on the organic portfolio.
Okay, Brandon, thanks very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
Brandon Craig, President of Americas for